Testing. My name is Shane Macdougall. I am presenting Mcafee Secure, Trustguard, and Trustmarks in general, a hacker's best friend. My partner Jay James couldn't make it. He's got conflicts with family issues and stuff. So whenever you see the phrase "we," just assume it's the royal we. You know, we. I'm not a multiple personality type guy. And if I do a lot of ums, just yell at me whenever I say because that's a bad habit, and I hate it when speakers do it, so don't let me do it. So about us, well, again, the royal us. Jay, my partner, he's been in InfoSec for about 20 years. Myself, I've been in InfoSec for actually 23 years when I think about it, and that makes me want to weep when I think about it. I'm a two-time winner of the DEF CON Social Engineering Capture the Flag, and both of us work for a company called Tactical Intelligence, which is based out of Canada. Since we're disclosing potentially vulnerable sites, we ask that you please keep the information to yourselves. Don't, write down when I start showing you some of the vulnerable sites. Don't write those sites down. Hey, Steve, how you doing? No, I don't care. I mean, by the time, we'll release it by then. I mean, these are snapshots in time, right? So the snapshots in time, and I want to actually give a special thanks to Lowell Katz and to Just Falter for helping me with my regex when I was under a Vicodin induced stupor the other night. Legally obtained Vicodin. So yeah, when we're logging the dumps, please don't take notes. So let's get started. Let me tell you a really quick fairy tale. So back at about the 1600s, there once was a king who lived in a big, secure castle. I mean, he kind of ran everything. He was the king of everything. And his castle was attacked regularly by the masses of unwashed hordes. But luckily, they never got in because he had strong defenses and guards, and they had their act together, and they were really always at their highest level of readiness. Well, usually. I mean, yeah. So one day, a traveling salesman came along to the king and said, "You know what? I want to pitch you a fantastic idea. You're going to love this idea. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my team of security cats come by, and we're going to go through your entire litter box and your whole castle from top to bottom. And we're going to look for vulnerabilities. And if we find no vulnerabilities, what we're going to do is we're going to raise a big red flag over your castle. And that's going to tell everybody that there's no point in even attacking your castle because we are secure, right? However, if we find any vulnerabilities, what we're going to do is we're going to take down that flag. Right? So the king thought about that for a few minutes. And then he said, are you out of your mind? I mean, come on. What kind of moron knucklehead would ever try and sell a service like, I mean that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, you would have to be out of your mind to try and sell a service like, oh, right. All right, well, actually, there are firms that are out there trying to sell this. It's called Mcafee Secure. There's also a company called Trustguard. There's another company called Security Metrics. And there's a few others like that. So what are trust marks? Well, trust marks are essentially just what I said. ScanAlert was the first company to market trust marks on a wide scale. Anybody remember ScanAlert? I mean, there were a few of us, okay. And, they had the HackerSafe logo on your website. And basically what would happen is they scan your website, and if your website was secure, you could put the ScanAlert logo on your site. And in 2007, it was acquired by Mcafee for $51 million in cash. Yeah. I was thinking this might want to be this might be the next purchase, the Brooklyn Bridge, because it has about the same value. It actually has more value. So trust marks essentially scan a client site daily, weekly in some cases, for common vulnerabilities with proprietary scan engines, they say, but unnecessary is really what it is. And if you pass, what happens is Mcafee Secure Seal is up on your website or your security verify or your Trustguard seal or whichever vendor. And there's a few about a dozen of these vendors that are out there, and they put these symbols on the website. Now, if they scan your website and you fail, what happens? Well, it depends based on the client. So if you're using Mcafee Secure, You have 72 hours to fix the bug. And if you don't fix the bug within 72 hours, what happens is the symbol on the left, right, your daily scan signal, is replaced by a 1x1 GIF, a 1x1 transparent GIF on the right. And taking it straight from the Mcafee website, why has the Mcafee Secure Trust Mark been removed from my website? Well, because you done screwed up, brother. Mcafee temporarily revokes the Mcafee Secure Trust Mark for any domain that fails to meet the Mcafee Secure standard for over 72 hours, right? 3 days. Mcafee Secure Trust Mark is temporarily replaced with a transparent GIF, and the domain name no longer appears in the directory of Mcafee Secure sites. So if this occurs, log into the Mcafee Secure Management Portal and view your vulnerabilities. So they basically say vulnerabilities of level 3, 4, or 5 cause the domain to fail Mcafee Secure security standards. Once Mcafee rescans the domain and you show that you've fixed your stuff and you're back in order, your trust mark appears again. So basically, for at least 3 days, your site can be vulnerable, and this is just for Mcafee. There are other vendors that will say, oh, you got a week. You got a week. But for 3 days, you can be vulnerable, but they'll still display a trust mark saying that your site is secure. Anybody see a problem with that? Yeah, you're shopping on these. I mean, let's face it, 3 days is a lifetime on the intertubes, right? And technically, the day that if it goes off, the day you lose that GIF, or your trust mark, actually means you've been 4 days. So let's analyze Trustguard. Trustguard is the #1 competitor to Mcafee Secure. Yeah. So if you look at this, anybody see something kind of funny on that one? So they do a 1x1 comparison. But this is my favorite one over here. Bonus security verified failover seal. Yeah. An unimpressed cat is not impressed. What the hell is a bonus security verified failover seal? I mean, well, if this seal is no good, we'll give you another seal. Okay. Seals. Basically, these guys at Trustguard have several different types of seals. They've got a security scanned seal, which is the Mcafee equivalent, a security verified seal, which basically says they checked your address, your email, and a phone number. Yeah, those are really hard to spoof. Then they have a third seal that's called a privacy verified seal, which basically says you have a privacy policy and we've analyzed how you share your customer data. And then they have a certified seal, which basically says all 3 of the above, plus we were able to reach a manager on the phone. Really high barriers to entry. So we have trademarks or trust marks coming out the wazoo, right? Too many seals diluting the brand, and it's extremely misleading. Which do you think has a higher level of security if you're just Joe consumer? Security scanned or security verified? Verified, right? No. Scanned is their big one. So the trust marks are essentially acting as flags to indicate to attackers when a site is vulnerable, right? Now, one quick caveat, at least for Mcafee, they'll also pull your trust mark and convert to a 1x1 if you don't pay your bill or if the site is unreachable for 3 days. So there is a chance that your target's not vulnerable, just broker busted. However, when we were running our tests, we had a Mcafee trust mark that was active for 10 days after the site was down. So I think it might be slightly busted. So how do we enumerate these clients? It's actually quite simple. Mcafee actually makes it very easy to enumerate because they list them online. Yeah. Basically, they have a website that you can traverse and it has every single client that's using Mcafee Trustguard. Or not every single one. Those that have chosen to be included in the directory, which is free, so that's most of them. The rest of them you can grab off of Google. Come back. So the rest you can grab from Google or Bing or whatever search engines, just for the image URL, which is very easy to grab, because all the images basically have the exact same format, which is images.scanler.com/meter/the domain/imagenum.gif, right? So, and they also have them in a secondary one, which is meter survey. So you can grab them from either one of those directories. So here's a quick sample of images of the trust marks that they use, right? They all have different numbers. Not all of them are utilized. Up to 76, though, should give you different formats. And it's also for different formatting for different website colors and stuff like that. You can actually put in any single number, though, and you will pick up a trust mark. So if you put in 1123, 123, 123, 123, 123, 123, you'll actually get a trust mark. And the GIF is the same from client to client. So 3.gif for one client is going to be the exact same format for another client. And when we were enumerating them, we actually found this one, which was kind of interesting. They launched something called Trust-E, an anti-spam effort that they launched in 2005. Doesn't seem to have ever gained any real traction from the very little recon we did, but the logo is still active on the site, so we're assuming it's still used, but we haven't really encountered it anywhere. Trustguard's a little bit different. So not quite as high-profile clients as Mcafee. Mcafee at least has some really impactful clients. Trustguard, on the other hand, has the ones that they advertise on their website, saying, "Hey, check out our featured profile clients include NitMix, the head lice treatment and prevention client, BuyCatholic.com, BuyLDS.com, which I guess given Mitt Romney might be seeing a bump in traffic, MyFairyTaleBooks.com, and of course A-Chainsaw.com for all your chainsaw needs." Please. Yeah, so slightly different level of clientele. Enumerating them is a bit harder, though. They're smart, or smarter, and they use graphics-based solutions. So when you're enumerating the Mcafee client, you can actually grab text from the website. You can grab the domain name from the string. These guys are smarter. Instead of actually putting the domain name in, they put it into a GIF and put the GIF out. So you can still enumerate some stuff from the text, from the certificates directory, but the one-by-one vulnerability still exists. If the trust mark is being yanked, they make it a transparent one-by-one. And in the case of already having the security verified icon, what they do is, what they do is they'll actually give you this backup failed verified one. You basically can also just check to see when the icon changes from one type to another type. I mean, that tells you they've gone to their backups verified failover cert or whatever the heck it's called. So to enumerate them, it's kind of funny. They use HTTPS, like it is giving you any sort of protection. Secure.trustguard.com/seals. The seal number, then scanned, and then small or big. However, the seal number is kind of odd. It doesn't actually equate to the customer number. So if you're saying, well, this customer number in this directory is going to actually correlate to this seal, to this client, it doesn't actually work that way. So there's a bit of a kludge required. So if you click on a Trustguard seal, it forwards you to this directory, securetrustguard.com/certificates.domain.com. And if you click on that link, it takes you to a page that displays all the seals that Trustguard has. And they call this page the business card. And let me show you what that looks like. Okay, this is basically, if you click on a seal, it will take you to this page. And this is Trustguard seal, or page. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when I called these guys, I swear to God, it was like a guy in his mom's house. All right, so it's like she answers the phone. "Hi, is Trustguard?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got some questions about how your system works." He said, "Oh, yes, of course, I can answer any question you have." And 2 questions in, she's like, "Yeah, I can't answer that question. So I'm going to have to transfer you to our technical support. Please hold." And I hear like the phone being kind of rumbled around, like the hand being held over there, and muttering in the background, and the guy, "Hello." I swear to God, I don't know for sure, but if I was a betting man, it's some dude living in his mother's basement. Okay? Unless. I haven't actually. I haven't. I really should have. Somebody do that while we're here, all right? But let me give you a real quick view. As you can see here, you can see the seals here. They have the Trustguard, this is the security scan seal. So this is the Mcafee version, and then the verified seal, then the privacy seal, and then the certified seal. I mean, real value added. They throw them to you, all four, for the same price. But as you can see, the domain name, actually grabbing the client name from this one's quite easy. But if they want to actually be smart and take the domain name out, the Trustguard, and put in some numeric thing so that you couldn't really just quickly grab and enumerate, what we want to do is we want to show how you would attack that anyway. So what we did, so this is the Trustguard. So to enumerate that, basically what happens is if you click on the client name, it takes you over to a client number that's in their rack CDN space, and it's quite easy to enumerate. So because they're graphical, they're a bit more difficult to enumerate. Now, like I said, you can certainly grab the domain name from the redirection, from the landing page. That's not hard. But like I said, if they want to obfuscate it and make it like some numeric thing so it wasn't a one-to-one relationship, we kind of want to do proof of concept. So what we did was at first we started to do an OCR attack on the little teeny tiny seal that I showed you. But the seals are too small to actually grab and process text reliably. So our hit rate was lower than 20%. But then I went, oh yeah, duh, the big business card. So what we do is we grab that, we slice it into, we extract the name from it, and then we process it. It's still not perfect right now. We only have about 85% accuracy rate. It's still way more accurate than working off the original seal. And with a little bit more image munging, we expect to get it to 100% accuracy. But anything that falls out of the OCR is still readable by humans. We just can't automate it. So obviously we see the problems with the Mcafee certs. We have the same problems with Trustguard. The failover cert, I mean, ridiculous. Misleading and confusing certs, like I said, verified and scanned, kind of ridiculous. Incorrectly configured certs, I'm going to show you a bunch of these. The one-by-one detection flaw is still there, and of course, they actually throw that extra flag in, which is when it goes from scanned to verified. And they have a week-long window. So basically, when a flag goes from visible to a one-by-one, that means they've been vulnerable for 8 days. So I did a sampling of them, and as you can see, some problems. So these are certs from the future. So on July 20th, I grabbed these certs. And I don't know if you can see the problem, but yeah. We got guys that are valid through October 12th. October 18th, yeah. Yeah, you're secure into the future. That's pretty, so I guess they have like Kresgen or some psychic site that's going, you will not get breached for 3 months. Then you can use it obviously because you can see things that are on the radar. So on the 20th, we see that this one was active 2 days ago. So there's still that window of opportunity. We can also see that some are about to expire in 2 days. But these are the best. Verified, active, and they're a year old. Yeah. So as you can see, yeah. July 20th, 2012, we grab it, and this guy was active, and they're still active. The certs are marked as active or inactive, and they're also, all these are active. So basically from August 19th, a year before. So don't rely on the Trustguards, obviously. And then recently expired ones as well. So these tell you, well, I should really probably scan these guys because they just went inactive as of, last week. I'm not going to say that this was weird that the Trustguard guys ripped off Mcafee because it could just be a code problem, but oh gosh. So MrBeer.com is one of their clients, and when you go through their code, I don't know if you can see this, view scan alert code. So, like I say, that could just be legacy code that for whatever reason wasn't there, but just kind of odd. That's what I'm thinking, maybe. It could be legacy code. We found it in a couple sites, so, So what we did to exploit this vulnerability is we wrote something called Oisis, and Oisis was the Greek goddess of misery. So we figured, yeah, that's pretty appropriate. And Oisis is currently a collection of site-specific Perl scripts. That's right, people, Perl scripts. Eat it. I don't care, you haters. All you Python freaks, take it outside. So the modules of interest that we used, mechanize, net ping, image size, image grab, image magic, and our OCR we did with Tesseract and OCR, PDF OCR2. Those were the libraries, or the modules. And basically we broke them down into two site-specific engines, one for Mcafee and one for Trustguard. And the Mcafee scripts we wrote into basically a harvest.pl, which grabs the URLs from Mcafee and the various search engines, and then engine, which actually does the main chunk of work. And what engine does is it basically reads in the trust marks, checks the image size. If it's a 1x1, grabs the first 25 image GIFs in the directory, just to make sure that it wasn't a fluke. If they're all 1x1, then we ping the site to actually make sure the site's up, because if it's down, that's one of the reasons that trust marks go away. And if it is up, then the system's either vulnerable or they didn't pay their bill. And we'll show you in a few minutes why that's important. And we're currently adding to the script a centralized package with a GUI and a scan delta creation with attack optimization. Basically what that will do is we'll say, well, for the last 5, since you have 3 days and then it disappears, we're putting 5 days of attack logs in. Basically, we grab the scans that come in from the various vendors, we put them into an attack package, and then we create the deltas. Because obviously, if your scan went away, if your trust mark went away, that means you went vulnerable 4 days ago. So what was the delta from day 4 and day 5? That's probably, not always, but probably the vulnerability that the site is open to. So we prioritize that attack. That's the packet that we launch first. If that doesn't work, then we go through the regular attack packages. The Trustguard scripts, we use Harvester, which is the same thing, and Google Grab. They do the same thing. They grab Trustguard sites. Because Trustguard is just such a mess the way they've laid it out, we run it weekly. It takes several hours to go. Then we run check them, which basically looks for 1x1s, which are the vulnerable sites, logs them, and then we take those 1x1s, we extract the domain name slice from the corresponding business card, and we perform the OCR. And same thing, we look for the 1x1s. We're adding a certificates folder. We actually added that, so this is done. We're adding the flag from switch from scan to verify, doing some code optimization, and again, putting it into a GUI. So here's the demo. Please let this work. So I don't have internet access, so I ran these from the hotel a little while before. Let me do the Mcafee one first, because this one makes me giggle my fool ass off. I didn't even notice this until I was in the airport on my way here, and I was sitting in the lobby going through the logs, and this just kind of jumped at me. I went, no freaking way. And actually, yes way. So when we run the log, so let me just give you an example. We'll say more 272, or let's do 271. When you run it, it chunks all the stuff into a vulnerable site, right? Tickety, 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 right? Quite a few vulnerable sites, or potentially bankrupt, or experiencing financial problems. But here was the interesting one I found when I was in Chicago on my layover. I can't believe I didn't notice this before, but anyone see an interesting client there towards the bottom of the page? Starts with an M. Mcafee. Mcafee.com basically outed their site as being vulnerable. So yeah, McAfee's McAfee Secures logo was missing from their site, and it got picked up by the logs, although I didn't even notice it until after. So they flagged their own site as being vulnerable to attack. So that means they had a vulnerability on their site for at least 4 days. Well, it was 4 days because prior they didn't appear and they're not there after. So for 4 days they had a vulnerability that couldn't get fixed, which is kind of heartening to me because that makes me realize they go through the same pain that the rest of us do, which is we got to patch the site. And then other management in the company's going, yeah, but is it really a priority or whatever? But yeah, McAfee outed themselves as being vulnerable. So that's kind of fun. So let's go to the Trustguard one. Oops. All right, so I'm having a real hard time reading this. All right, so let's do this. This is a quick demo. We'll say on day 271. It's going to run really quick. So we're looking for the 1x1s. It harvests it goes through all the URLs from the Trustguard site. It goes really quick. Pearl for the win. Done. It's created everything goes into a file, vulnerable.txt. Why can I never remember the right extract names? And now what it's doing is it's going through, grabbing them all, and it's slicing out and doing the OCR, and then putting them into okay, we're done. So it's completed running. Besides 271. Just don't want my porn to pop up. All right. So as you can see, anything that has a crop.tif is something that's been flagged as vulnerable. So as you see, we take out CPR care. So unfortunately, it's kind of cropped my screen because of the weirdness of the projector here. So let me make this a bit so it fits on my screen. Yeah, let's do it this way. So it creates basically file names that have all the vulnerable sites in them. So cprcare.com, specialdayinvitations.co.com, executive gift shop, get800today.com. So that's basically the program. So instead of enumerating all these sites, you basically just go to the 2 vendor sites, you run the scan, and you essentially scan 10,000 sites, well, more than that. For this demo, we only do 10,000 sites for vulnerabilities, and they drop out basically in 5 minutes. Why is it not coming back? Oop. So I'm not going to level the accusation formally yet, though, but there are indications of both vendors of potential client list fudgery, shall we say, people that they're listing as being clients that actually aren't clients. Not saying, just saying. Responsible disclosure. We were going to talk to McAfee and Trustguard and others to basically tell them about this vulnerability and to say, this is kind of messed up. But we didn't. We were saying, we struggle with this. What exactly are we going to tell them? It's not a vendor-specific issue. It's a design issue. The actual concept is flawed. You're raising a flag to tell people when a site is vulnerable and not vulnerable. We can certainly alert Trustguard to their MUN certs. I'm pretty sure they know about it, though. I mean, the conversations I had with them on the phone did not give me the warm fuzzies that they really care about security so much as getting people in the door. I mean, if you're going to have failover bonus certs or whatever the hell you call them, I mean, that kind of takes the whole point of the cert out. That's basically it. Any questions, comments, donations? Please feel free to ask. Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, we're using Tesseract, and the problem seems to be, and I'm not exactly sure why. Well, I'll give you a couple of examples here. We can go through them in real time. So these ones are fine, right? CPR Care, Specialty Invitations, ExecutiveGiftShop.com. Let's go to one here. All right, so here's one. That's orthodoxsource.com, but for whatever reason, it's parsing it out as ORL::thodox. Let me see another one. Here's another one. Virtual online store is Vroluanstar. I think it's because they actually have a little background in it. I was playing with GIMP a bit to kind of extract a bit more of the text and to do. I was playing a bit with the contrast and stuff like that, and some of the libraries to extract color and things like that of the background. Not exactly sure. I mean, a lot of the vulnerabilities too, or a lot of the errors I still could fix too, because I'll show you one like, it should be here soon. Right, so allaboutblindsandshutters.com. Well, the shutters, the S became an A. The S dot became an A. So what I think I could do to increase the efficiency is to actually scale it up. And there's also another part on the business card that I think we can use. I mean, this was more for proof of concept. It's not like it's something we're going to release. But what I was thinking is I actually might start going after the verified email part and just grab it out of there. Although, again, I really think what's happening is because of the background image. That's what's kind of munging it up a bit. It's not really super critical. I mean, it's still readable by human eyes when you break it up and you look at it. I mean, it's you dump it out, you can see it pretty plainly. Nothing big. Anybody else? This?
So the purpose of this would primarily be looking for places to try stuff. I'm thinking, I don't really know, I don't see it as a commercial thing. You're looking for your client, monitor on your client.
Yeah, it's a hacker tool. It's not it's a hacker tool. It's the ultimate hacker tool. They do the scanning for you. You don't even have to enumerate them. You never even touch the site until they're flagged as vulnerable. And then you just run the delta of 4 days back, because that's probably the vulnerability that knocked them off out of compliance.
Have you had any reports that the systems have been hacked as a result of these?
Let me put it this way. I can confirm that there are absolutely sites that go vulnerable from this method. I'm not going to go into details as to how we know that, but yeah, we know for a fact that vulnerable sites have been flagged, and I don't know if they've been attacked by others, but through reconnaissance, shall we say? Yeah, no, they flag. I mean, the majority of these guys that trigger out, and you can see too in the historical logs, someone will be they won't be in the logs, they're in the logs for a few days, and then they're out of the logs again. So, like Mcafee, perfect example. They were only in there for 1 day. I think that's probably the day it hit the fan when they went in, somebody went onto the website and went, you know what, guys? Our trust mark isn't on our website that we're selling the trust mark on. Yeah, that was probably a very embarrassing day around the headquarters, I'm guessing. Somebody else had a question? Yeah.
You looked at all into the time to remediate, and is that part of any future research you might do?
The time to remediate is up to the, well, for Trustmark it's 7 days, and for Mcafee it's 3 days, 72 hours.
So I'm asking from the standpoint of measuring how quickly after the citing.
Oh, how long do they take? I hadn't, and I should actually do a statistical analysis of that. I'd be curious. That's a good thing to check, yeah. I mean, usually they do get fixed. We see them range from everywhere from like a week to, days. For the most part, though, you can tell when someone just basically stopped paying the bill because they're there forever. When you're there for 2 months, yeah. What I do suspect, though, happens in some of these, though, is that the vulnerability they have is something that they're like, well, it doesn't really impact us. So we're just going to not, it's not a priority for us to fix, I'm guessing is what happens.
Well, and sometimes the message scanner is false positive on things that seem vulnerable but aren't.
And that could very well be it too. You know, you're getting flagged by something that you can't fix because it doesn't exist. I'm not sure how they actually address that within their back end. I'm sure they have some sort of database exception. But I can tell you from personal experience, though, for the most part, when something was flagged as being a vulnerable site, it was a vulnerable site. I mean, sometimes it was. Obviously, they just didn't pay the bill. Occasionally, it was the site was down. But for the most part, when they show up in this, they're vulnerable. Anybody else? Sorry?
You said that they are vulnerable, but can you give me some examples of the type of bugs that you found? I mean, main reason is, I'm wondering if there's a way for you to, you detect that they are vulnerable to something. This bug should be issuing some updates to the normal, this bug your problem.
Well, we actually can identify for a lot of them, not all of them, but for a lot of them, just going back 4 days. Because, well, and again, it depends. If it's Trustmark, you go back 8 days. But for a Mcafee client, you go back 4 days, and we look at the Delta packets. Like I say, we collect the attack packets as we go because we're clients, so we can grab their attack packets. We go back and we grab the Delta of what was done on day 8, or for Mcafee, what was done on day 5, what was different from day 5 and day 4. That's usually the vulnerability. If something new rolls out, and you can actually see.
Without even being a client, do you think there's enough public information to understand what the attacks were targeted?
I'm not sure how I would grab the. Well, sorry. Yeah, we can usually around the time that new vulnerabilities are released and people are writing exploits and they show up in the wild. That's one way you could do it without actually subscribing to them. We just wanted to subscribe to them because it was the easiest way to grab their attack traffic. Trustguard, surprisingly, seems to have a bigger, and this was kind of a shocker to us, Trustguard actually seems to have a bigger library of vulnerabilities than the Mcafee one, which I found kind of odd. But yeah, I mean, it's quite easy to identify with a fairly high probability what the vulnerability is, just by going back X days plus 1. Anybody else? Yeah?
How expensive was it to subscribe to the group?
Not expensive at all. Mcafee was free. They do a 1-month trial, and then you just throw it away, and then you start a new company. Trustguard, on the other hand, they want cash up front on the head. And it's not cheap, it's like $1,000. But yeah, the Mcafee one was my preferred because it's free. Like I say, you can just demo. Just here's my new domain, throw it out there. Anybody else? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.